Hey guys, Jake here with the Hook Advice. Um, haven't done any videos or anything for a really long time. Not really my cup of tea, but I really wanted to get out there and at least share something with you guys. I've been tying up a bunch of these olive woolly buggers. I kind of just wanted to go over how I've been tying them. I use Hares ear and I throw it in a dubbin loop and spin it up and brush it out, and it looks super buggy, really effective on trout. And you can do, you can use UV dub, something a little shinier if you prefer, and you can really do, anything you want, any color combination, egg sucking leech patterns, really whatever you prefer. But I really like the golden olive combo, so I'm putting a 5/32 beads on this size 8 hook. It's a 2x long, 2x heavy hook, great for small streamers, larger nymphs. Tying on the trusty HMH here as always. To get that bead to stay into place, we'll go ahead and throw in some lead wire. I had really good success with this pattern if I hadn't mentioned that already, but I'll take 8 or 9 wraps of that lead wire and then just smash it right in behind that bead. You just helicopter it out, and then we'll start our thread in behind the lead wire there. You can kind of work forward and take a few wraps over it just to cover up that wire, and we'll work our way back towards the rear of the fly. I'm going to stop right about where the hook barb is and tie in our marabou tail. Like I mentioned, this is an olive bugger pattern. We'll cut out that excess thread, get our marabou feather here. I'll find one that I like for a tail. That's a good feather right there. So I do about a hook shank length off the rear of the fly. I'll kind of pinch that in place. A couple tight thread wraps, just make sure it doesn't rotate on the shank of the hook at all. Secure that in place and get a nice bugger tail coming off the back. We'll spin this excess marabou here and just snip it out with your scissors. We'll kind of cover that area where we snipped out that marabou. I use 1 strand of flash on this fly. I'm not a huge flash guy. There are patterns that I would recommend flash, but this is a pattern where I use a limited amount. 1 small strand of ruby or crystal flash, which really accents with it's a nice touch with the gold bead. So just wrap that around your thread, secure it down to the shank of the hook, and just splay it off to either side of the tail, so you got one strand on each side. Once you get it where you want it, just secure that in place, and then you can cut out the excess. You can cut it about the same length as a marabou, just a touch longer if you want. Come forward a little bit. I'm going to form my dubbin loop here and then work back over it. You don't need a huge one. 5 or 6 inches is way more than enough. It's only going to take about 4 inches of dubbin to actually complete this fly. It doesn't take a whole lot. It's a relatively small hook with a short shank. And once you get your loop in place, you can work all the way back up to right behind the bead where we'll finish off the fly. And I haven't ordered a dubbin spinner yet, so you guys are gonna laugh at me for this, but I adapted and I overcame. And for the longest time, I've been spinning up my loops with a tent pole. So you can use just about anything in fly tying. So I'm probably going to order an OPST, I think is what it is, dubbin spinner. I've heard really good reviews on those. So if anybody else has anything that they would rather point me in a different direction, but I've heard really good reviews on those. So it's probably what I'll order. They're like 20 bucks. It'd work a lot better than this tent pole, so I'm just procrastinating. So I'm taking that hare's ear now, and you can take a clump that's about the size of a quarter or a nickel. It really doesn't matter, somewhere in that area, just a ballpark, about that size. What I do is I'll throw it in my loop, let the thread kind of pinch down on it, and then slide it right up and meet the next, or the first pinch before that. So when you brush out this dubbin, some of it's going to fall down at the foot of your vise. A lot of it will probably get caught up on your brush that you're going to use. So make sure you keep an eye on your workstation and pick up any of that stuff, because as I go along and make multiples of this fly, I'll actually pick up stuff that I used in the last fly or fell down and use it on the next tie. So keep that in mind. Don't let anything go to waste. Especially with these flies, you go through a lot of this hare's ear with these. So I'll go ahead and spin it up, brush it out, wrap it on, make a nice uniform body, and we'll finish off the fly. Not a lot of materials, super easy to make. It looks really buggy, but like I said, the look of this fly really beats the hackle and chenille in my book. Just the way that it looks. Fish is great too. So once you get that spun up, go ahead and pick it out with a dubbin brush. I'm not using anything fancy for my brush. I literally use something from Ace Hardware. A lot of my tools and some of my materials just come from craft stores or hardware stores, so I don't think I'm the only one that does that though. So talk to plenty of other tires that do the same thing or are in the same boat. So although I haven't heard of anybody else using a tent pole to spin up their loops, so that's a first. So let me know if you have. I'd be curious to hear what you guys got to say, other than making fun of me. So, but you can see how buggy this is starting to look. You know, that hare's ear has a nice buggy look to it anyway, so it's a nice little brush. So make sure when you wrap this on, just watch out for that hook point. Come around, make a nice uniform body all the way down the fly. Maybe if it wants to cooperate here. There we go. We're going to brush this out at the end too, but as I make each wrap, I'll kind of pull the wrap back, and that's kind of important when you get to the front of the fly too, because once you get behind that bead, you can pull those wraps back and kind of, you know, maximize the amount of turns you're getting in behind that bead to make sure that it's your dubbin is backed right up against that bead. So you can probably fit one more turn in there. Still got some space behind that bead there. once you get to the front, right where that bead is, and you're satisfied, and I leave just enough space so that it'll get, my thread will get sucked right down behind that bead. And once I have that secured, and I've taken a couple tight wraps over that loop that I had in there, make a few wraps behind that bead, really tighten everything down, and then I'll do a whip finish or put some half hitches in there behind the bead. So once you're done, you can cut your tie and thread out once you've whip finished. And what I do to finish everything off is I kind of pick through it, get any fibers that I don't really like out of there, but I'll brush it out just to get anything that might have been trapped in the roughing process out and get it kind of to its fullest potential. Make it look as buggy as we possibly can. And then we'll put our, you can put your head cement or UV resin of choice on there. But you can see, how buggy that looks. Nice and full. Nice woolly bugger pattern, nice leech patterns. These, really great for trout, salmon, and they swim great in the water. So, like I said, opportunities endless with the variations in patterns or whatever bead heads you want to do. I use a lot of nickel bead, like nickel colored beads, black beads, gold beads, fluorescent beads. So that's pretty much the extent of what I use. So once you're satisfied and get it brushed out, you can throw whatever you want on there. I'm just going to throw some Raid Zap UV resin around the bead head here and underneath, and just kind of secure everything in place. So, and this fly will be done, ready to fish. So fun pattern to tie. Like I said, easy, effective on trout. Works great here in Maine. And after you tie a few, it only takes a few minutes to get through it. So and you get that subtle little bit of flash in the back too. So it's a nice little pattern. I've put a few in my box, sent a few away in some orders, so it's super cool. So yeah, I call them dubbin buggers. Just, but they're really a woolly bugger that's just tied a different way than the textbook way that some people use chenille and that bugger hackle, and that's fine. But it's pretty cool. You got that dubbin on there, and still got your traditional, marabou tails and a little bit of flash in there, and super effective on trout. Haven't tried a whole lot on salmon, but we'll give it a shot next year and maybe give it a whirl. So try them out. Let me know what you think. I know I've gotten a few comments already on these, and people seem to like the way that the dubbin looks. The hare's ear is really subtle, but it makes it look nice and buggy. So tie some, try it out. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks.